First, introduction. The vehicle for communication is language. As a result, it's critical to make effective and efficient use of it. Year after year, many dialects have vanished. It is not critical because having fewer native language lead to a more accessibility way of life, and I tend to agree. To give any example, the world population is rapidly increased. As a result, method of communication among people must be considered with understanding and simplicity. However, where diversity in different French language can be valued as a character asset, there will be less effort dependent in achieving any amazing union of nations. For Professor Michael, 30% of the 6,784 languages recorded by ethnologue will be that within hundreds years. Ethnic minority languages in Sabah are becoming endangered as a result of technological advance, education, migration, intermarriage, and other factors. When few speakers are restricted to the elderly. Thank you.
Hello, Assalamualaikum and good morning. My name is Nadira binti Razali. So, our first language is Seletar language. Seletar language is a language of the orang laut of the south coast of the Malay Peninsula. Orang Seletar are one of 18 orang asli ethnic group in Malaysia. The ethnic group relate with the Seletar language orang Jakun, orang Kanak, orang Kuala, Temuan, and orang Laut. They were part of the sea nomad, orang Laut, that live in boat, but now they live in house on the water. Seletar language is spoken by orang Seletar that live in the Strait of Johor, separating Singapore from Peninsula Malaysia, and they also a part of orang Laut. Now, what about their language status? So, the number of their people in India increased, but their language is not. Now, their language deteriorating, although their number of people is increasing to compare to other orang asli language. Their younger generation now living outside are more likely to use Malay language, which cause them not to speak their own language. Their language is also more or less now including among their own races. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera to the lecturers and my fellow classmates. My name is Noraina Alia and today I would like to present my part for this assignment. So the first topic for my part are factors that affecting Seletar language. Okay, the first factor is because of the political reasons. For example, the national language for Malaysia is Bahasa Melayu. So most of the Seletar people, they only use Bahasa Melayu as their daily language for communicate to others. Next, economic factor. This happens when a person or a group of community people move from a place to another place. Usually this happens when the younger generation gets a great job opportunity in the city, or when they get married to a person who are not from their community. For the third factors are educational aspects. This happens when they do not use the language that they usually use in their household to be spoken at school. It is also happen because when they go to school, they get mixed up with other students who are not from their community. Lastly, social aspect. The younger generation could not speak the language because of the small number of people in their community, because they are a group of minority people. For the next topic is effects of language extinction. So for the first effects are next generation will never know the ancestor language that is related so much to their culture and customs. There is a great saying about this that goes, when you lose a language, you also lose the culture. Next, younger generation will think that it is fine for them to not learn the language because there will be a new language that they can learn because they think their ancestor language is a lame language. Lastly, political consequences, as some states ministries will take advantages for their political status and privileges over minority group. Sadly, these things already happen in our country, and it's not only happen in Seletar community but other community as well, the community of orang asli. So last is suggestion or revitalization. So for the first suggestion is the parents' responsibilities to enhance the usage of their language in younger generation by teaching them since they were little, by practicing words that can be used as daily phrases. Second, elders who can speak the language fluently should offer their specialty by conducting a class by voluntarily or by charge prices for them who want to take the class. And lastly, youngsters can use their social media as an exposure to other people to get to know a little bit of their heritage community. That's it from me.
Next, we're going to talk about the Temuan language. The Temuan people are a Proto-Malay ethnic group found in central peninsular Malaysia, centered around Selangor and Pahang and a bit into Perak. Being a Proto-Malay ethnic group, they share a lot of similarities with other Proto-Malay ethnic groups, including the Malay people, in terms of culture and language. Both Temuan and Malay are part of the Austronesian language family and are somewhat mutually intelligible with each other, having similar grammar and similar verbs. Although Temuan is traditionally not a written language, it can be written using a Latin alphabet similar to Malay, as there is no standard orthography. The spoken Temuan language is used as a medium of preserving their culture as there is no written script. However, the Temuan language is severely endangered. Around 8,000 speakers are left in Malaysia, and increasing number of Temuan people are starting to use Malay as a common language due to the proximity to urban centers such as Kuala Lumpur. The Temuan are greatly affected by modern law and legal matters in comparison to their traditional environment-centric lifestyle. And because they are closer to urban life and development compared to other orang asli, they are more likely to assimilate or get pushed around by the government or large corporations trying to exploit them for their resources. The relocation of Temuan people can also push them into territories of other orang asli, which can cause a clash of cultural heritage between the ethnic groups. And it can make it hard for the community to preserve their own culture and language. The lack of formal education for the Temuan language and the push for younger members of society of the Temuan people to learn Malay and English. Since the Temuan language has no official orthography and syllabus, it's very hard to pass on the language to the next generation officially and can only be taught by people who already know how to speak it.
My first point I want to highlight about the effects of the language extinction is we lose the expression of a unique versions of what it means to be human. In a 2009 interview with Paroma Basu for National Geographic, Professor David Crystal stated this: "What sets this apart in India as well as the rest of the world is the speed with which it is occurring, and the number of languages that are being lost will most likely happen in the Temuan language as well. This language, as we all know, has its own unique qualities. If this language disappeared tomorrow, that will have been a big loss." Next point is we lose the Temuan's histories and culture. Orang asli Temuan. We rarely hear their names, hardly anyone to know them, and immerse themselves in their lives. The language used to express these discoveries is intriguing and distinct. We don't know a lot of Temuan languages, so like how it works or how the mind functions when it does. The language employed to describe these discoveries is unique and intriguing. Besides, some people will lose their mother tongue. The true tragedy of all of this may be the people who are unable to communicate in their first language, the language in which they learn to describe the world. Some people find themselves in the unpleasant positions of being one of the few people who speak their native language. Before this language evaporates from the face of the world in Malaysia, we as a responsible individual should indeed find a solution to mitigate this issue. Firstly, the common method we can use to protect Temuan language is by using digital and social media. Those who want to preserve indigenous languages, on the other hand, have acknowledged that these are important ways of communications. Next suggestions on the revitalization is insist on speaking your native language. One of the most important things that organizations, families, and individuals can do is insist on speaking their original language rather than succumbing to the language of the dominant group. Maintaining your first language is important for your identity and helps you have a healthy self-image. Keeping your original language alive at home enables children to be proud of their culture and roots, which is beneficial for both parents and children. Parents of young children should encourage their children to speak in their original language in order to prepare them for interactions with their native language community. Well, that's all from me. Thank you.
History of Kelabit language. One of the remotest language of Borneo on the Sarawak-Kalimantan border and spoken by one of the smallest ethnicities in Borneo. It is spoken by about 5,000 people, mainly in the Bario highland of Sarawak in Malaysia. Speaker of Kelabit call it Karo Kelabit or Karo Tau. Kelabit is closely related to Lun Bawang, Sakban and Tring, which are spoken in the same region. The Kelabit did not have a written form of the language until education was introduced on the highland in the 1915 and 1916. Status of Kelabit language. There are 18 longhouse communities where different dialects of Kelabit are spoken. Many have learned to speak English and Malay language. Factor affecting Kelabit language. Only the older generation living in the village who are fluent in Kelabit speak. Kelabit language are replaced with new language and new cultures and social background. Young generation who do not know anything about the Kelabit language mostly use Malay and English only.
The next slide is about the effects of the extinction of the Kelabit language. One of the effects of the extinction of the Kelabit language is the destruction of multilingualism and multiculturalism. This thing happens because when the Kelabit language becomes extinct, everything related to Kelabit language will disappear automatically. This thing also caused the culture and language in Malaysia declining. Next, the effect of the extinction of the Kelabit language is loss of diversity. In this matter, we need linguistic diversity to succeed in humanity. However, when the language decreases, the power of individual and knowledge also decrease. The third effect of the extinction of the Kelabit language is it will cause the Kelabit people lose their language. When the Kelabit language become extinct, the original speakers can't speak his own language anymore. This thing goes They may lose unique memories of loved ones and also lose loss of their identity and cultural richness. The next slide is about the suggestion on revitalization of Kalabit language. One of them is the minority speakers do not stop speaking their language or mother tongue. The next suggestion on revitalization of Kalabit language is the older generation, especially parents, try to instill or apply the values of identity to the younger generation of their children by using Kalabit language when communicating with them. The older generation also needs to try to expose the younger generation to use their mother tongue at an early age. The third suggestion is the ethnic association work together with the government to elevate the cultural heritage to the proper level. For example, they need to work together through the organization of language party or carnivals. The fourth suggestion is various parties ensure that the mother tongue continue to be the language of communication within the family at home, and the last suggestion is creating a recorded or documentation and printed resource about Arabic language and culture so that the younger generation can learn about Kalabit language in the future.
A good day to you, Doctor. So, for now, I would like to share the conclusion of the slides and topics that my group and I had already discussed before. So, we couldn't deny that more than half of today's language are on the verge of extinct, since these languages are discussed in a topic of a daily basis. And we could see that as a result, this would cause the loss of cultural wealth, ancestral knowledge, and identity of one's country, since each country has its own self language that makes the country popular. And I would say that this is the reason we must protect the language diversity, since there is different country have different languages that other can learn, which is rare. And also the reason lots of different rules develop in various countries in order to protect the extinction of these languages. So, as the final words, we couldn't deny that it is a hard task to find a solution for this big scale problem. Well, since the era is moving, yet the languages are getting forgotten time by time. So one of the way is to spread the words of the existence of those dying language to the media. The media is actually a big platform that we could share any kinds of information, and this is why media is powerful. We could share a lot, including these dying languages, to the country, to other countries, and we could. And I would say that it is a must for the citizens of a certain country to widen the spreading of the language, since this is enormous and important assets of one's country. As I said, one's country has its own languages that is special that none other countries that knows. And I would say if the country could spread the words, it is quite a big score, since that would cause a big hit in the language and holidays. Yep, that's all from me. Thank you.